Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on exercise and sport science. This session will be recorded today. And if you are watching the recording, welcome. Joining me today in the background, and she'll probably say a few words at the end as well if there's any questions or present some questions, is Liz. So Liz is joining us from Sydney, and also joining us is Deb. So Deb is one of the teaching staff within exercise and sport science, and she will be going over all the content today. So there'll be a little bit of an introduction just around the university and what that looks like. And then we'll hand over to Deb and then back to me to talk about the application process and the support services that are in place at the university. But first off, I would just like to acknowledge country and acknowledge the Palawa and Pakana of Lutruwita, Tasmania, the traditional owners of the land upon which we live and work. We pay respects to elders past and present as the knowledge holders and sharers. We honour their strong culture and knowledges as vital to the self-determination, well-being and resilience of their communities. We stand for a future that profoundly respects and acknowledges Aboriginal perspectives, culture, language, and history. And just from my own personal perspective, I am in beautiful Burnie on the northwest coast of Tasmania, and I'm very privileged to call the Cradle Coast home. So it's a stunning spot. But we will be talking a little bit more about Launceston today because that's where exercise and sports science is delivered from. So really quickly, this will be what we cover today. So I've already touched on a couple of things, but we'll look at current student feedback, the amazing facilities that are over in Launceston, and some fast facts about the course as well as career opportunities. And then Deb will go over a little bit about course plans and why the course might be for you as well. Before handing back over to me to talk about some of the more boring stuff, as I like to call it, but the cost, scholarships, accommodation, how to apply, all of the admin side of things. And there will be time for Q&A at the end. So if there are any questions, you can pop them in to the Q&A function. And as mentioned, Liz will also be available to ask some questions at the end that we most frequently get asked as well about the course. So this slide is all around student satisfaction. And we do take student satisfaction pretty seriously here at the University of Tasmania. So we do have above average student satisfaction with 82%, with our teaching quality and engagement compared to 80% nationally. So we are just a little bit above the national rate, which we take, like I said before, great pride in. And we do have strong graduate outcomes. So that's something else that as an institution we are quite focused on. We want people coming into degrees and then taking those career opportunities that do come from graduating. So 82% of full-time employment for undergraduate and 96% for postgraduate study as well. And I will go a little bit further into detail about this, but we do have a lot of student supports available. So whether that's academic help, career guidance, or just someone to chat to, we do have counsellors either physically on our campuses, and also they can be accessed via an appointment online, whether that's phone or like a face-to-face like Zoom or Teams. So we do have that opportunity for students to connect in with any type of service that is available from our teams, our like student success teams. And just lastly there, we are #1 in the world for climate action. So that is something that the university is extremely proud of. And it's something that when you come to study with us that you are a part of as well. And as it mentions, become part of the world's leading university on climate action. So for some students, that's an extremely important factor. And it is something that the university has taken seriously, and we are quite committed to it as well from not only a teaching perspective, but as a wider university staff and student perspective as well. But I will hand over to Deb and she will go into further detail about the course. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you, Lara. Thank you. Yes, I'm Deborah Pascoe, and I am the academic lead in exercise and sports science, as well as being the course coordinator of the Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science. So the Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science is located in Launceston, and as Lara has referred to, and you'll see later, it's in a brand new facility, so it's definitely worth the trip to Launceston or staying in Launceston. Because the course is one that involves a combination of online learning as well as hands-on, and we've got fantastic facilities where students can actually apply the knowledge and skills that they're learning in classes or online, and they apply them in our beautiful laboratories as well. As part of that, we have embedded work integrated learning or practice integration and placement, and it means that the students are actually applying their skills with the public, and as part of that, we have an internal placement and external placements that students need to complete to get 140 hours of placement hours, which is required for accreditation as an exercise scientist. We also have some interdisciplinary units, which integrates beautifully across our School of Health Sciences, and we like to integrate with other professions, such as our biochemistry students, our biomedical students, etc. And our places are supported by the Commonwealth, supported places. If you have done your secondary schooling just recently, then our minimum ATAR is 65, and last year it was, or this year coming in, it was 65.55. It does vary a little bit, but it usually is around that point. And to be eligible for entry, then you need to have completed one of those following units there, or there are also other pathways into it. If you're mature age, etc., then you may have done a Certificate 4, and that may be a pathway that you come in, or you can do a diploma as well, that a Diploma of University Studies that will provide entry into the course as well. So our beautiful new shed facilities, which is affectionately called the shed, is a $19 million facility, and it only opened in 2025. So the first people sort of transitioned in late 2024, and we started teaching in the facility in 2025, which was very exciting for our students. What might be of best interest to exercise and sports science is our beautiful human movement and performance laboratories. And you can see here in both of these photos, the outside and the inside of that facility. So we have a 40-metre sprint track, which we use for doing timing and sprint trials, as well as walking tests, etc. And you can see a group of students there that are also in there. And where one of them is standing just with that little plate in front of him, we've also got embedded force plates, which means that we can run biomechanics laboratories there. We can do measures and research on that, as well as up around, you can just see in the top left-hand corner, we've also got a motion capture system, which means that we can do movement analysis as part of our classes, as well as part of our research. And you can see that students with their computers and laptops are engaging, and often they're actually downloading data and using that data that they're gathering in classes. So it's very, very applied because we've got these fantastic facilities and our up-to-date equipment. The other laboratory that we make use of in a number of classes is our strength and conditioning lab, which looks like a weight room gym that you might be familiar with. And we use that to actually go through the teaching and learning of how to do correct exercises, how to coach that exercise, how to vary exercises, and also the good exercises, I guess, and how to train higher level athletes as well. We often have other people in the community coming in and using this facility as well, such as the jack jumpers and our AFL talent squad. So yeah, basically it's a community facility as well as our teaching facility, which really enhances the experience for students. So the students have been involved in working with those community groups as part of the use of this facility as well. As part of our beautiful shed, you can see the architectural design of it. It's a really nice space. You walk into it and I instantly smile every morning coming to work. So hopefully the students do too. But those spaces that you can see around on those 3 levels are all student spaces. So all the community and students are welcome to come in, use that facility there, use the desks, the tables, and also to book rooms around the building as well. So if they wanted private study areas, they can book a room. It's got screens, all the necessary requirements for you to actually sit there and maybe engage in a class as well while you're on campus, etc. And as part of that too, down on that lower facility near our laboratories, we also have 9 consultation rooms. And as part of that, we are looking to develop a community practice there, so a clinic where we can have people coming in. It's going to start with exercise science students, where we're providing programs and exercise programs for the community, where our students again can engage with the community, do their testing, do their assessment, and then provide exercise tailored to those people and their conditions, perhaps to get fitter, or maybe to work on a chronic disease, etc. Also, we have our DEXA scanner and bod pod that do body composition. We can do blood and exercise and rest, so we can take bloods when we're exercising people as well. And we've also got an environmental chamber, which we can therefore put athletes in and mimic, Cairns climate, so humidity and temperature, and train athletes ready to transition into a warmer climate or a colder climate, if there is a colder climate than Tassie. But yeah, those warmer climates, so that they can adjust as well. So there is a photo of that later on. As part of our health facility, so this building, it houses all types of health. We also have a hospital simulation laboratory. So if some people were going to use exercise science as a pathway, they may go into nursing or paramedicine, or maybe even physio, OT, etc. Then sometimes there will be laboratories that we actually use these facilities as well, and they're all monitored and all have state-of-the-art equipment as well. So, who is an exercise scientist? Basically, they're equipped with the knowledge and skills that apply the science behind exercise. So, most people think they can exercise, they know what it's about, they know, some of the names and all that type of thing. But exercise scientists actually understand the body and how it works, how to modify those exercises and also tailor them to specific needs of people, so that we know that swimmers train differently to running athletes. And we have sprinters that will train differently to marathon runners. And that's what exercise science know, understand, and can apply in the world that they become employed in. They also develop fitness, well-being, performance. So as part of that, they will also learn how to prevent injuries, or how to work with those injuries, and therefore rehabilitate those injuries in the athlete, etc., once they've been injured. So they get the whole the whole profile of an athlete or a person who just wants to be fit and healthy, and they can therefore understand and tailor the exercise application to that person and get the best out of them. We're all works in progress, and the exercise scientists can help us improve along the way. So it's not just a pathway to one of our allied health programs. It is an end in itself, and it is a fully accredited qualification. So it has national accreditation standards where all graduates will be eligible to apply as an exercise scientist with Exercise and Sport Science Australia, and therefore have that accreditation to them. So we can also be a pathway to other allied health professions like exercise physiology, which is closely aligned with the exercise science profession. So it's more than what people often will say is a glorified personal trainer. As part of your 3 years of the exercise science course, you will take out embedded qualifications, so that you can actually end up with a certificate as part of that, and therefore work in the area while you're still actually finishing off your 3-year degree. So after the 2nd year, you're qualified with a certificate as a personal trainer, and therefore can seek work during that last year. You can also do a sports trainers level 1, so you can work as a sports trainer in a football, netball, sporting team, etc. And so you can actually get some of that practice and experience as you're moving along, because you're going to be far more highly qualified than just at that level. And a lot of people will also work in, allied health. They may test it out by becoming an allied health assistant during their program, and then they would go on and then do another allied health. But it gives people a really nice taster of what the scope of a profession might be, either as part of the exercise science or beyond exercise science qualification. So for the most part, exercise scientists are professionals that are going to be working in strength and conditioning, coaching, and that could be in a community setting or it could be with a sporting team, certainly with sports and recreation with some communities and government. So it might be local government in a recreation or sporting facility. Could be a personal trainer in a gym, local gym, or as part even as a rehabilitation setting. A lot of exercise science graduates are working in an allied health setting where they're working with physiotherapy, OTs, etc., and then they're actually delivering the exercise programs that those professions require so that the person can move on to become an independent person and not being relying on that rehabilitation as well. So just to sort of map out the career pathways, you've got the 3 years of the Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science, which provides you with those careers that we just went through. And so you're eligible to apply to those. If you were thinking of going on, then what you will need to do is achieve a grade point average of over 5. So a grade point average is calculated on your results, where a 7 is the highest with a high distinction. And so it's a distinction is a 6 and a 5 is a credit. So you would need to get a credit or above on average over the 3 years to be eligible then to move on to an entry-level master's program. And that could be in exercise physiology, sports science, physiotherapy, OT, speech. So University of Tasmania has a Masters of Physiotherapy, a Masters of Occupational Therapy and Speech Therapy currently, and we're working on the clinical exercise physiology pathway as well. So as part of that, then an extra 2 years on your 3 years will then qualify you with the double qualification of an exercise scientist as well as your chosen allied health profession as well. When we're looking at the career opportunities. Sorry, I was just going to say the academic, the academic pathway is also available. So people want to, get my job or somebody else's job, then they can do a PhD and work through the research pathway, which is an honours and PhD. So that is one of the pathways that you can move on to. But you can see here that the exercise scientist opens up some career paths on the left-hand side there, as well as a pathway to other careers. And those careers can also be engaged in later on. So you might complete your exercise science course, be working in the industry for a number of years, and then choose to actually jump into a different pathway and become an allied health profession in one of those, or a researcher, or that type of profession. So you can move more broadly into a range of other professions beyond exercise and sports science if you chose. If you're looking at the course plan full time, so there is 24 units that you need to complete. So that's 4 units each semester, 2 semesters a year over the 3 years. And if you just sort of glance at the names across the sort of first semester there, it starts off with our lower level but fundamental units that are, foundations of human body. So a lot of anatomy and physiology. We need to understand the body before we can actually apply some of our higher level scientific applications. And then we move on in second year into more assessment and understanding how the body works, what exercise does to the body, how the body responds to exercise, both good and bad, and how to get that measure right, and really understanding perhaps what exercises are contraindicated, so you shouldn't do, and other exercises that are really going to help you build muscle or to help you train your bones or your aerobic system or etc. So they become a little bit more detailed, and certainly looking more at the analysis through biomechanics and our sports assessment, as well as exercise delivery as well. Then in the third year, it becomes far more applied. So we're looking at applying them in the knowledge and skills in different situations, such as with people with perhaps cardiovascular disease or having neurological diseases or other aspects that might have affected a person. So it might be a musculoskeletal disorder. They may have had a hip replacement or had an ankle reconstruction because they've had multiple ankle sprains. So we learn about that too, so that the exercise and sports science graduate is really equipped to cover the whole gamut of what an athlete might go through, what a person may go through if they're looking to be fit and healthy and well. Then that transition and that movement through that healing process, then the exercise scientists can actually assist in delivering exercise to achieve those goals.
Sorry, Deb, it just mentions that it's delivered in both Hobart and Launceston for those units with an asterisk against them, and then online subjects plus possible over summer school. I just thought I'd tag that just down the bottom of the presentation there. I don't know if that you want to comment on anything there.
I will. I think that comes up a little bit later as well about that it is a Launceston-based course, but there are some options. But what students have to be aware of is that the options of Hobart and the combination of Launceston units sometimes doesn't work neatly, that they may have to attend a class in Hobart on Monday morning from 10 till 12 and be at a class in Launceston from 12 till 2 or something like that. So they do have to be careful about the timetabling of those, but they are available. So you are right. Yep. And of course, we have part-time options as well, and that's as part of the course coordinator. That's part of my role, is to map out specific part-time needs for people, so that there are a formula that we can do over 4 years. You have a maximum of 7 years to get through the course if you have illnesses or you need to take it a little bit more slowly, so you can go fully sort of part-time. And yeah, take it easy, and then we can map a specific pathway or course plan for you as you transition through. Or if you had a little hiccup, you got sick, or you missed some assessments, or you didn't do so well in a semester, then we actually work out a course plan that actually suits your individual needs as well. So yeah, part-time over 6 years is taking only 2 subjects or 2 units per semester. So that's very part-time. Some students may wish to take up this option. It seems like a long time, but it may mean that they can work more regularly and get there through, or they may have caring duties or that type of thing, have young children, and this might be the pathway that they choose. It can be changed as well. So once you actually choose to go part-time, you're not committed to that. You can pick up full-time at any time, or from full-time back to part-time in any combination. So it's just a matter of planning that and making sure that we're getting through all of the courses and prerequisites that we need to in that order. So it can be very individualised for a person to move through the whole course. There's the good-looking staff that you will engage with, and so it just gives you an idea of who the staff might be, and all of these people teach within the course. And this is the photo. Oh, yep, no worries. This is the photo within the climate chamber. So we've got a few of our third-year students there, and they're working on the treadmill. And within that climate chamber, they can as I said, change that temperature and humidity to suit whatever conditions that an athlete might need to be training for. So if you're interested in health and wellbeing, you like sports science, physical education, biology, you're interested in the body systems and how it works, health systems, then basically you're the right person to be choosing a career or studying exercise and sports science. You do need to be self-motivated and organised and flexible. We have a lot of online learning to engage with, and that takes a little bit of self-discipline and self-motivation, but we also have the hands-on face-to-face classes in the laboratories where we're expecting you to actually apply the knowledge and skills that you've already engaged with. So you do need to be a mature and responsible learner. And where the staff are really, really supportive on helping you on that pathway. So if you're interested in learning anything about sort of health, exercise and sports science, then this might be the course for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that great insight. I think that was really detailed, and that's exactly what, when we're engaging with students in the Future Students team, they absolutely want all of that information. And I do apologise, my mouse seems to have a mind of its own, so it was flicking a little bit through the slides there. So apologies for that. But this slide is all around the application process. So generally how it works is you apply, you receive an offer, and then you enroll in units. So for anyone that hasn't done an application that is listening to this recording, you can apply. Applications are still open and will be open for some time. Just be mindful, and Deb, you might want to touch on this, but there are limited places within the exercise and sports science program, and that is something just to be mindful of when applying.
Yeah, so they just need to be aware of the entry requirements.
Mm.
And at the moment, we're tracking on a very similar cohort as last year, and that has increased. And we're prepared at this stage to engage with the majority of people that are applying. So if they're eligible, then they're most likely going to get in. But that eligibility of either the ATAR or that pathway is what's important.
And just on that really quickly, so with exercise and sports science, there are, as Deb mentioned, a couple of options there if you're looking at it from an adult learner perspective. So we do have a pathway program in that is called the Diploma of University Studies, and it does reflect entry level units and then bachelor level units. So entry level units are things like learning at university, research, referencing, all of those foundation level units. And then it combines that with some units from the first year of study. So the idea is that it gives you a good solid foundation and framework around them moving into the bachelor. So it does take, it does add some time, but what it doesn't do is if you do pass those units, which probably wouldn't be receiving an offer to the bachelor if you didn't pass those units. But once you pass those units, you don't have to repeat them. So you don't have to go into your first year redoing those units once again. So that's really important. But as Deb also mentioned, there are opportunities if you've done a certificate for or a diploma in the fitness space. Those things will be taken into consideration by our admissions team. So that is just something to be mindful of. And not just in those particular areas as well. So you can put forward an application with a certificate for or diploma, but a whole list of entry requirements is available on the website. And Liz, if you can pop that into the chat, that would be amazing, because it does give you like I said, a full list of everything that is required from an entry point of view. And so once that offer's been received, you can, once it's available to you, which will be shortly, I think it opens on the 17th of November, you can then go ahead and enrol in those units. And in terms of those course plans, that is something that should be available online, but if it is not, you can reach out, I'm sure, and yourself, Deb, or someone within the health team would be able to assist students. So we do have student advisors that can help with mapping out what it might look like from not just a 3-year perspective, but also that 6-year perspective as well. So if you do need assistance in enrolment, you can come on to any of our campuses or give the 1300 number a call at any time. And just really quickly on this one. So I always say to students when they ask about the cost of education, I always frame it from the perspective of it is investing in your future. So obviously it is a commitment, and it is something that we are very much aware of that takes not only time, but it's resource heavy in the sense of it can take up I suppose, some of your thinking, especially in the current financial climate. However, you can transfer the cost of units on to a HEX Help loan. HEX Help is done when you go to enrol, and we can explain that further in detail in the Future Students team or our Uni Connect team. But basically, you're transferring the cost of study onto a HEX debt, and then once you start earning over a certain amount, you start paying that back. And it's taken in the form of tax, and it's paid directly to the government. So it's normally done at tax time. I go every year to my tax man, and he says, Lara, you owe X amount of money to the government, and it's taken out in the form of tax, like I said. So there is also student services and amenities fees, and those particular fees are attached to each unit. They do fluctuate in terms of pricing. So each year it can be a little bit different. I think currently it's around that $50-something mark, and they can, like I said, increase a little bit each year, but it's not a dramatic amount. And as it mentions down the bottom, so the Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science is Commonwealth supported. So if you are a domestic onshore student, you are eligible for a Commonwealth supported place. That means that it is subsidised by the Australian government. So it's A, you don't have to pay it up front, and B, you can get a Commonwealth supported place. So I'm just looking here, and the bands state what is in each area. So the study areas, for example, and from what I can see, it looks like that this particular area of study sits within band 2, and EFSL stands for equivalent full-time study load. So regardless of whether you complete the degree over 3 years or part-time, like for example 6 years, you will only ever pay the same amount. So it never changes in terms of the costing. So what that costing is for a full-time equivalent is what the costing is over time for a student that is studying part-time or only doing a couple of units. So part-time study is generally 2 units a semester, full-time study is 3 to 4, generally 4 units a semester. And there are obviously, as Deb mentioned before, there are options to be part-time, so you can juggle workload, etc. And just in relation to scholarships, so we do have several hundred scholarships available each year. We have those for commencing students as well as continuing. So once you're in a program, you are considered a continuing student, but prior to that, it is commencing. A lot of scholarships may have already closed. However, there would still be some available to students, and it's a pretty easy process in terms of looking up scholarships UTAS, and it's a pretty simple application process. So you do answer 5 short questions about yourself to quick apply, and a lot of our scholarships are just quick apply. So once you've answered those 5 questions, there's a little button that says quick apply. You hit that, and what you've answered is just applied simply to that particular scholarship. Some scholarships do require a few more questions, so it may ask you some background information, why you want to study, what you've wanting to study, and then potentially if there's anything like in terms of volunteering, or if you are a member of a community organisation, etc. So sometimes they will ask a few of those questions just so we can get a feel and a scope of what the person that is applying is like, and how they engage with their communities, for example. But as it mentions, there's a whole range of them. So relocation and travel, obviously for some students that's really big if you're moving from the mainland or even from the Cradle Coast or Hobart to study in Launceston. It is something that does need to be taken into consideration. We also have financial and accommodation support, and the themes within which we work are merit, sporting, diversity, university enrichment, and there's also honours and access as well. So as I mentioned at the very start, there are hundreds of scholarships, and it's always worthwhile taking the time to have a look through them. And if you do have any questions about them, like anything, you can reach out and ask a member of the team for any further clarity around them. And with accommodations, so obviously Hobart and Burnie don't really apply in this context, but we do have Launceston. So Investigator Hall, Newnham Apartments and Inveresk Apartments are all available in Launceston. As you can see, it ranges in price. Investigator Hall is on our original, I'm not going to say old, it's on our original campus over there in, as well as the Newnham apartments. So both of those are located on our Newnham campus, whereas Inveresk apartments are very much closer to the facilities in which, if you are to study exercise and sports science, that's quite close by to where the shed is located. So just be mindful that places are limited, and with other programs that are delivered out of the shed, it is something that if you are applying, just I always say to students, get in early. Applications are open now, and it is a little bit of a juggling act for our accommodation team to make sure that we're keeping everyone happy in their accommodation pursuit. So yes, if you do have any questions around that, you can look up Accommodation UTAS, and there is a direct line to accommodation if you do want to ask any questions. And I did mention this at the start, and I said I was going to go into a little bit more detail, but we really want students to succeed at the university. The last thing we want is for students to come along, have a really hard time, and then you either drop out or it's just not a great experience. You're struggling for whatever reason that might be, whether that's personal or in your academic world. So it is really important that you do reach out to people, and that includes the teaching staff within the program as well. I'm sure every one of those smiling faces that was on that slide back would be more than happy to be approached and to have those conversations. And I think Deb even mentioned it as well, in the sense of you can reach out at any point and go, if it is something like I need to go part-time to manage the juggle that is life, then that is a possibility as well. It's just making sure that you're getting that right. But we do have study support. So we have student advisors, learning workshops, and as it mentions, 24-hour study support. There are also peer-assisted study sessions as well available to students. And with that is career guide. So on a follow on from that is career guidance. So we do have a Career Connect service as well, and it is a great opportunity to connect with mentors and professional associations as well. And we also have a lot of volunteering opportunities as well as student jobs. So it's always worthwhile to keep an eye out in that space. But more importantly, counselling and wellbeing. So as I mentioned, if someone is struggling with their studies or they're just not finding their groove, we do have confidential and professional counselling, and that doesn't have to be anything to do with your studies. It can be a personal experience or something happening in that space. And as I mentioned at the start as well, they are available in person and online. So you can access that particular service in Launceston as well. And like I've been going on about, it can be a whole range of things that might be contributing to whatever issue is or has arose. So it is important that you don't just access those services when it's probably at a time where it's past. So you're worried about something, or you're stressed about something, or something's happening. It's really good to just make that call in the first instance and connect with those support services. And I will hand over shortly to Liz, who has several questions. But just really quickly, this is one that we get all the time, and that's how much time am I expected to spend on campus? And the answer to that is a lot. So Deb did discuss it earlier, but they average a 2-hour in-person on-campus face-to-face workshop or practical or tutorial for every unit per week. So if you're studying 4 units within your semester, that is 8 hours of in-person. That's right, I can do basic maths. So it's a face-to-face course delivered in Launceston, as we've discussed. And so residing elsewhere is possible, but it can be a little bit more complex to juggle a study load. So if anyone has driven from Hobart to Launceston or has knowledge of that particular drive, it can be quite a hike. So doing that in one day can be a little bit tricky. Northwest to Launceston isn't as hard, but if we're taking into consideration any type of study that might be required, any type of assessments that are due, any type of other work that needs to be done while you're over in Launceston that are attached to your courses, so your units of study, then often it's not just simply being over there for 2 hours. You might be over there for 3, 4, depending on what the schedule looks like or what you've got on. So that is just something to keep in mind. But what I will do, Liz, is I will hand over to you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Lara. Thank you, Deb. And I'm going to just ask a few questions that have come through. So, the first one is, do you recommend a particular elective to complement the degree? Because they noticed there was an elective in the first semester or first year.
Yeah, the elective is a genuine elective, so it is open to the student's choice, but we do actually have a number of recommended ones that we sort of more align with the exercise and sports science degree, depending on, and we guide students depending on sort of what area they want to go with. So it might be that they want to work with elite athletes, then we might suggest that they do one of the electives in doping and ASADA and using drugs and things like that as part of elite athletes. So we try and channel it, or it might be a management unit in sports management or something, or if they're interested in psychology, we might encourage them to do a little something that's more aligned with sports psychology. So we will usually ask them what area they want to go into, and then perhaps tailor that elective to match their interests, because it genuinely should be of interest to the student.
Great, that's a fantastic answer. So essentially, as well, if they picked an elective that was in another degree, they could have that credited towards their posts or other studies that they're interested in then for like
Well,
Bachelor of Psychology or something.
they could if
Yeah.
they chose to go on that pathway. And also there are some prerequisite units, say for speech pathology, that
Mm.
that they can actually do as an undergraduate, and it is a prerequisite, but it's not part of the exercise science course. So if they were thinking of using the exercise science course as a pathway to speech pathology, and they knew that, then we would guide them to choose an elective that is one of the prerequisites that they require to get into speech pathology.
Fantastic. So another question is, as an interstate student, what makes studying exercise science at UTAS different to the mainland?
I think it's a fantastic place to be, and it's all in one place. So if you come to Launceston, then that's where you're going to study. It's a very close-knit community. We know all the students by name. They're free to sort of meet up with us. It's a very friendly atmosphere. The staff here are engaging and interested in the teaching and learning process, and the cohort is small enough that it's intimate, that they learn their friends, they learn their groups, and also learn the staff as well. And I think that makes for a really engaging and positive learning environment for students as well. So, UTAS does it very well, very well. And I've seen a number of universities across Australia, and certainly I'm impressed with the UTAS atmosphere and just that engagement with students. I think it's a very positive experience.
Thank you. What a great answer. I will ask Lara the next question. I'm a year 11 student that is starting year 12 to start university in 2027. Is the exercise program offered through your early entry scheme?
It certainly is offered through our school's recommendation program, is our early entry scheme that you're referring to, Liz. What is really important though from a year 11 into 12 or 11 and 12 perspective is to ensure that you have done one of the entry requirements. So there are a list of subjects that need to be completed. They are what we refer to as prerequisites, and you can study those either within year 11 or 12. It is good to have a combination of some of them, but it is only just one that you do need to do. So just be mindful. Some students do get really anxious because they see, oh my goodness, there's a whole list of them there. But It is important that it is just one, but they range from maths through to sports science as well. So there is a full list on the entry requirements of our web page as well, which I did see that you popped up, Liz. But yes, so and that is for all students applying through the school's recommendation program. So whether you are a mainland student or a Tasmanian student coming from year 12 into the program, you do need to make sure that you're completing those prerequisites to be eligible for an offer. However, you can still receive an offer, but subject to you completing one of those prerequisites in our foundation course programs. So if you have so a lot of students go, oh, I've missed the boat. I'm really, what am I going to do? There is the opportunity to, if you haven't done one of those programs, to complete one in our foundation studies courses that we provide during the summer break as well.
Fantastic, Lara. Thank you for that. The next question is, what proportion of students might be going into physio, speech pathology, occupational therapy, or teaching, because they're listed on the course page? Is there a typical path that most of the students follow from exercise science at UTAS?
Probably a third up to a half of the students choose postgraduate study. So they are doing the exercise sports science as that pathway, or during that time when they're interested in that, they then discovered that they would like to do further study in one of those areas. So yeah, usually a third of our cohort is going to go on to some type of postgraduate study, whether or not it's in physio, OT, speech. They may do EP, or go on to a completely different pathway or the research pathway of doing an honours degree. So yeah, somewhere between a third and a half of the students tend to do postgraduate study.
Great, thank you. I've got another one here. What accommodation options are available on and off campus at Launceston, and how close are they to the new facilities?
I can take this one, and I did allude to it before. So we do have 3 accommodation options with Launceston. The only thing being is Inveresk apartments are the closest to the campus itself. So that is just where the shed is located is opposite. So it's just opposite the accommodation on the Inveresk campus. And as I mentioned before, and I cannot stress this enough, it's really important that if students are thinking that they need to move or that they need some type of accommodation option, even if it is just for the first year, to find their feet, get settled, whatever it might be, it is always worthwhile putting in an application early or around this time. Just to secure or potentially secure a spot. So our accommodation teams work really hard to ensure that everyone gets their first preference, but just be mindful that, like I said before, with other programs also ramping up in Launceston, it will be a little bit of a juggle to fit everyone into accommodation. So yeah, it is always worthwhile to just put that application forward and also even reach out as well if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you, Lara. I think that's most of the questions that have been asked because the others have kind of been covered. Is there anything else that either of you would like to add to end the webinar? All good. Then,
Awesome.
yep.
Thanks, Liz. And just a really big thank you from me to, now I've got to make sure I get your title right. Associate Professor Deborah Pascoe. Did I get the last name right, Deb?
You did indeed. Thank you,
Oh,
Lara.
awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So any questions? So there will be, with the recording, it will come through on an email, and down the bottom of that email, there will be a number of ways that you can connect in with us. So whether that's via email or giving us a call, you can also book an appointment at any time to chat with one of the team members within the Future Students team. We are located in Launceston and Hobart, as well as the Cradle Coast, which is where I am. But we also have a couple of people over in Sydney as well, Liz being one of them. So there is the opportunity to reach out and actually connect physically in person. But if that's not possible, then there's always that opportunity to book either a phone call appointment or a Teams meeting as well. So I would just like to once again, and thanks for popping that in, Liz, into the chat. Once again, I would just like to thank Deborah and also Liz as well. And as I've mentioned throughout this whole webinar, if there are any questions or anything that you'd like to know more about, then please simply reach out and we'll be able to help you at any point. So
And a
thank
big
you all for
thank
your
you to
time.
Lara.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you,
you
Lara.
both very much. All right,
Thank you.
great.
Thank
Have
you,
a
Liz.
great afternoon. Thanks all.